Salut tout le monde, je suis hyper contente de vous accueillir à cette troisième saison de notre émission Retour au BERCAIL. Aujourd'hui, je vous présente le parcours d'une personne qui m'est très chère. C'est une partenaire à moi, elle s'appelle Binja. Elle a quitté Boston pour revenir s'installer à Kinshasa. Aujourd'hui, elle va nous parler de son parcours et aussi de l'expérience un peu traumatisante qu'elle a eue lorsqu'elle est revenue à Kinshasa. Mais c'est une belle histoire et j'ai hâte de vous présenter ça. Alors moi, je vous dis bienvenue à cette troisième saison de Retour au BERCAIL. Voilà, je suis accompagnée de la belle, la magnifique Binja, a.k.a. African Cocktail. You guys, vous savez pas à quel point je suis excitée d'avoir cette magnifique dame sur ma chaîne.
Arrête.
Et c'est la troisième saison. And she's gonna be amazing. D'ailleurs, merci beaucoup à tous ceux qui nous ont suivis les 2 dernières saisons. Je suis super contente de vous retrouver avec une invitée magnifique. Vous allez l'adorer. Ok, vous allez tous tomber amoureux d'elle.
Guys, the pressure is on.
You gotta love her as much as I love her. Merci beaucoup Binja d'avoir accepté mon invitation.
Well, thank you for having me. It's going to be very, very franglais avec moi parce que my French is in the workshop still,
Il n'y a pas de souci. Écoute, c'est la nouvelle génération. That's what I say. The new generation.
Oui, ma compréhension est à 100%, but my parler, c'est vraiment franglais, quoi.
Il n'y a pas de souci. Ici, c'est une zone de open for everyone, sans toi à l'aise.
Ah, parfait.
Tu parles la langue que tu veux.
Merci.
Même si tu veux mettre le swahili dedans, tu mets.
Ah, je m'y mets, hein. Attendez, là. Yeah. Ce sera la première fois pour ta chaîne.
Yes. Les langues nationales. Bienvenue au BERCAIL.
Merci Rachel. Thank you so much for having me because I'm a fan to start off with. I'm one of those people that watches every single video, every single time it's posted. I have notifications. So for me on the other side, completely honored. It's such an honor.
Super. J'ai hâte que tu puisses partager ton parcours parce que je pense que you have an interesting story that no one that I've interviewed had, especially because of the shock that you got when you. We will dive into it slowly.
Déjà ça chauffe, hein?
Oui, mais tu montres une autre réalité en fait que les gens n'ont pas nécessairement eu à connaître sur ma chaîne, mais que plusieurs personnes vivent.
Oui.
You know, so I'm really happy that you're gonna have the opportunity to share that. All right, alors on commence comme d'habitude, on joue à notre jeu que j'appelle le icebreaker ou bien le scanner.
Oui.
D'accord. Alors c'est vraiment quick questions.
Ça va.
And quick answers.
And just to be clear, I've never heard these questions before, so Rachel, go easy.
I will, don't worry. Alors 2 mots qui te décrivent bien.
Entrepreneurial and creative.
Ok. Est-ce que tu penses que c'est 2 mots que d'autres personnes utiliseront pour te décrire?
Probably not.
Okay. 2 mots que tes parents utiliseront pour te décrire.
Ooh. Probably kind and bossy. I think that's what they think. I'm like very much a chef.
Ok.
Yeah.
Good. De nos jours, il le faut.
Bah oui.
Alors, un trait de caractère qui te plaît chez toi?
I think I'm really kind. I think I'm a kind person. I like to believe the best in people and I like to give people chances. And so I honestly think that being a kind person is something that I see as a very good trait to have and I know that I am. Yeah.
Especially in Kinshasa.
Yes.
If you are not kind, you will go mad. Ok, et maintenant, un trait de caractère que tu aimes moins.
Moi?
Yeah.
I would say that I am impatient because I see the end goal, and for me it's important to get to the end goal. And when you have 20,000 things between you and the end goal, and à Kinshasa, il faut que tu persevere, my people, persevere. And so for me, I find that I get very impatient. But Kinshasa has really brought out a new level of patience, a new level of slowing down, a new level of the world is not going to burn down if this doesn't get done today, which is something that, having worked in corporate America for 7 years, it's not something I was accustomed to, because if a client needs something today, tu lui donnes aujourd'hui. But Kinshasa slowly taught me, like, the sky is not falling. So yeah, I would say I'm generally an impatient person, but Kinshasa is teaching me to be patient.
Giving you Zen. Zen Binja.
Exactly. That's like Binja 3.0.
Okay, and this is more of an elaborate question.
Okay.
So growing up Congolese, all right, what have you learned from your parents?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
From growing up with the Congolese dad, what has been, being a Congolese has taught you in life?
I think more than anything, it's taught me about community, the importance of community, the importance of having people around you, people who can support you, people who cheer you on. Because the more I traveled the world, the more I saw that what we took for granted as like, oh, nous sommes les Congolais, il y a tantine, il y a tonton, and they're always around and they're always cheering you on, and then you now out in the world by yourself, and you realize that, like, wow, the world really doesn't care about you like the way your community cares about you, and they're not really there for you. And so for me, that was one of the biggest things that I learned is, on your good days, you have your community. On your bad days, you still have your community. They're always there. They're kind of like a constant for me. So that's one thing that I think I've learned from my family, from my dad, being Congolese, that, you know, you always have community to fall back on. And that's what has sustained me so far, especially since moving back.
Yeah, and you are a very good community builder, because this girl, geez, elle vous met en contact avec the whole nation.
Bah oui, bah
From
oui.
Kenya, from Zimbabwe, from this, oh, I know this person, let me put you in. Yeah.
Exact, vite fait, c'est comme avec Jenny. Oui, oui, c'est vite fait. And I think for me, I saw that my dad did the same thing. My dad is a very social person. Anywhere where we went, he was always making contacts. And it wasn't like making contacts in the networking sense. He would literally be like, oh, mon frère, ah, nous sommes là. Tu es du Kivu, moi aussi. Tu es du Congo, moi aussi. And it was always just like automatic friendship. And so I think I grew up seeing that as this is how you interact with the world. And that's how I've kind of taken his traits there, where I always tell people I like to reduce my stranger danger. So I like to make friends very quickly so that I don't feel like I'm in an area where I'm unsafe. So for me, it's very important to know the people around me. And if I meet somebody who needs help, like I said, I am that first person you call where you're like, do you know somebody who does this? I'm like, I know somebody who knows somebody, so I got you.
Amazing, amazing. So Binja, I
Yes.
want to know who Binja is.
Oh my God, that is such a loaded question.
Where you were born,
Okay,
where you grew up,
okay.
and yeah, just in general, who is Binja?
All right, so I'll say Binja is a multi-hyphenate to start off with. But I was born in Kenya, in Nairobi, and I grew up in Kenya. I lived there for about the first 13 years of my life. And then we started moving as a family. So moved to Botswana, lived in Botswana for a couple of years, then moved to Geneva. I lived in Switzerland for a couple of years, then moved to Zimbabwe. I lived there for a couple of years. And then I finally went to university in Boston, and I lived in Boston for 12 years. And then during COVID, I think the universe and Jesus were like, it's time to go home, Binja. It's time to go home.
So change.
I got on a flight.
New.
I said, I hear you, and I'm on the flight. So I did. So when I say I'm a multi-hyphenate, I am an entrepreneur, I am a sister, I am a daughter, I am a friend. I am somebody who is extremely curious. I ask a lot of questions that make most people in Kinshasa uncomfortable, because they don't really have women who are as assertive as I am. So yeah, that's who I am. I stand in my truth at all times. I'm somebody who is always open to correction, especially if I'm the one in the wrong. I am always quick to correct, because at the end of the day, life is too short. I don't believe in having regrets or holding grudges. That to me is a waste of time. So yeah, those are all of who I am. I hope I was answering your question correctly.
Yes, you did. That was a very good answer. So, being someone who moved around, alors t'as côtoyé différentes cultures, différentes personnes, différentes mentalités.
Bah oui.
On parle souvent de la mentalité des Congolais. Oh, les Quinois ont une mentalité. Les Congolais ont une mentalité. Nanana. Et venant de quelqu'un qui toi, tu es né à l'extérieur, mais tu as grandi, ta famille vient du Kivu,
oui.
n'est-ce pas?
Oui, du Bukavu.
Donc, j'imagine aussi les mentalités là-bas et les mentalités ici, à Kinshasa, sont différentes,
oui.
sont très différents. Alors, quelle est la plus grande différence entre le Congolais, on pourrait dire peut-être le Quinois, parce que ça fait presque 2 ans que tu es ici. Alors, quelle est la plus grande différence que tu as remarquée entre le Congolais et les autres Africains?
Oh, interesting. Oh, that's a good question. I had to think about that. Les Congolais, les autres.
Like, are we that bad?
No,
please.
It's not even like that. It's not even like, not at all. Listen, not at all.
Est-ce qu'on est des extraterrestres comparés aux autres Africains? Parce que chaque fois que je me fais dire les Africains, les Congolais, are we that bad?
You know what? I got it. So I would say the biggest difference between Congolese people, and this is a complete generalization, so take it with a grain of salt, and the other countries on the continent of Africa that I've lived in, is the fact that Congolese people don't pivot as fast. I think we have vision. If something works, then ça cartonne, on y est. But if something doesn't work, I think it takes us a little while to recalibrate and launch again. Whereas I see a lot of people, especially in Nairobi, in Ghana, a lot of people are eager to fail. Like, failing for them is not a stumbling block, like, oh, j'ai échoué, bon, tout est foutu. For them, it's more of, okay, j'ai échoué, that tells me that, okay, I need to do something differently. And I don't know that I've seen among Congolese people that kind of way of get up and go. If this has failed, then I'm going to try something. And failing fast and failing quickly, I think people are really afraid to innovate because they're afraid to fail. Whereas in other countries, people are so ready to innovate because they're not afraid to fail. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've kind of seen in Kinshasa and, in Congo as a whole, where I would absolutely encourage people to continue failing. I mean, I fail every single day in Kinshasa, but that is not a stumbling block for me. I see that as a new astuce, a new donnée pour moi, to know that at the end of the day, okay, this is how to not do it. It's not necessarily that it reflects on you as a person negatively, because I know sometimes people internalize failure.
Yeah.
For me, it's very much that, oh, now I know another way to not do it, which is perfectly fine, because then I'll pivot and I'll do something differently and I'll do it better. Yeah.
And I think I think I read something somewhere who said there is no failure, there's only opportunity to learn.
Yeah, I like that.
So to fail, it depends on how you see it, right? It can always be an opportunity for you to learn, and as you said, to pivot. Et je pense aussi que le fait, people are afraid to fail, comme tu dis, c'est aussi dans notre mentalité, en fait. C'est très rare d'avoir des parents, et puis je pense qu'aujourd'hui, notre génération qui est beaucoup plus entrepreneur le dit souvent, les parents congolais n'ont jamais vraiment poussé les enfants à devenir des entrepreneurs. Tu vois, pour nous, c'est comme on dit, le travail d'un bureau, va te chercher un travail, au moins là, tu as un salaire. Mais même encore là, les salaires ne sont pas garantis. Tu es au bureau tous les jours.
Je sais.
Il y a l'argent qui ne vient pas.
Exact.
OK? Donc, je pense que les parents congolais n'encouragent pas les enfants à aller dans le route entrepreneurial because of this
fear of failure.
Right?
No, it's true. I mean, even in my personal walk here in Kinshasa, when I came here, I have a master's in public health. I have 7 years of experience as a consultant. I worked in technology. All of that, dans un package comme ça, people are like, oh, you're going to go and work for the UN. It's going to be so easy for you to get a job. And when I landed, I was like, I have no desire to work for the UN. I want to run my own business. I want to be able to create my own impact. I want to be able to create employment for people. people that are like that I'm responsible for, and I'm trying to communicate this to my parents. And my mom automatically understood, but my mom is also Kenyan, so she also like fully got the vision. She was like, oh, I see where she's trying to go with this. But my dad, obviously being concerned for his daughter, he's like, no, you can't just be sitting around talking about entrepreneurship. Like, what is this business you want to run? So it's also been just in my own personal life quite an experience, like being with my family and actually trying to communicate what it is being an entrepreneur is for me, and also for them seeing what that's like for me on a daily basis, where like I'm not sleeping, I have phone calls at all hours of the day. So they're also like, you could have been, literally, it's like you could have been in an office.
Influence. C'est ça, à telle heure, à telle heure.
Exact.
And it's so funny for you to say that, is because your dad did travel.
Oh yeah,
all over the world.
Literally all over the world. It's not a continent.
And for
he's never
him,
been
it's
on.
still I'm not computing on. Yeah, tu vas devenir comme il a pas vécu en Silicon Valley là, donc lui il comprend pas. Il comprend pas le entrepreneur struggle,
and you know,
hustle.
The thing is, I don't fault him for that, you know. He only knows as much as he knows. And I always say this to people. People can only take you as far as they've been, right? He's only been as far as, you know, having a 9-to-5, being able to travel, being able to, you know, consult. But he's been able to be his own boss. And also the bosses that he's had have been able to kind of give him the autonomy. But that's all he knows. He doesn't know like going out on your own and taking all kinds of risks. So he doesn't know that. So even in his trying to protect me as his child, he's concerned. I understand where he's coming from, but he doesn't know any different, you know? So I never hold it against my father. I never hold it against like my uncles who are like, elle fait quoi en ce moment? And my dad is like, I have no idea. She's just on a bunch of phone calls. But for me, it's even going to be more impactful when everything I'm working on actually like blows up, because they're going to be like, oh, this is what it means to go out and to chase a dream and to actually like work hard for it and to fail and to succeed, because they see me, you know, I don't eat, I don't get out of my office. They're just like, is everything okay in there?
But you're still alive.
Exactly, like I'm going days. And so honestly, like for me, I think the good thing about my parents is that even if this is not their reality, even this has never been their experience, for them, they've fully supported it. They've been like, okay, she's doing stuff that at some point is going to pay off, and they've made, you know, Wi-Fi available, and that's something that like for the rest of the world, they're like, Wi-Fi available? Why is that like an amazing thing? In Kinshasa, the average household doesn't have Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi is actually considered a luxury.
Yes.
So my parents are completely supportive, and they're like, yeah, you know, I guess you're going to be working through the night. I guess the Wi-Fi is going to be on through the night. And so even if they don't fully understand, they do show their support. And I appreciate that. That's all I ask, right?
Yeah.
Is don't shut my dream down. Don't kill my dream. Just support it. Even if you don't understand it, let's see where it takes us. So, yeah.
That's good. That's a whole other conversation. But since we don't have 3 hours, but I would like to touch a little bit on that, on parents supporting their child's dream.
Yeah.
We will get into it in a few moments. Me, I want you to tell me about the shock, to talk about the shock you got when you decided to come in Kinshasa. Because you've never been here, right?
Ever.
You've never been here. Your family is not from Kinshasa.
We're not.
Please tell me, like, this transition from a US-based girl who's very American in her thinking, coming back home.
Yeah. So, in all honesty, it was... I had anticipated having shock. I was like, okay, I've lived in African countries. I have lived in like, 4 or 5 African countries. I am African. Everywhere I go, I'm flying the African flag. And I'm thinking to myself, I got this. Kinshasa is another African city. My dad decided that he wanted to retire here in Kinshasa. And I was like, oh, the house is there. We must go home. Why not? So I get on a plane with 20 of my boxes. And I'm just like, it's going to be easy. Y'all, I landed and it was a mess. The worst thing is like,
L'aéroport de Njili, déjà, tu es comme...
C'était la bordel. La bordel. Even when we landed, I kid you not, when we landed, I was like, this cannot be the airport. I was like, this is the international airport of the Democratic Republic of Congo. It's like, you know how people are like no shade? No, absolute shade.
Absolute shade.
I was embarrassed. I was like, guys, we have to do better. Like, we're one of the biggest countries, like, on this continent with so many minerals, so much resources. And I was just shocked. I was completely shocked because I've landed in Addis, wow. I've landed in Nairobi, wow. I've landed in Johannesburg. Like, all of these places where it's like world renowned, like, people know that these are countries where you come. And I was like, is this why tourism in Kinshasa, in Congo overall is not like a thing? We don't really have the facilities to welcome people here. So again, that was my intro. Landed and it was just people everywhere yelling. I was like, there is absolutely no order at this airport. And that to me automatically threw me off. I'm somebody who appreciates structure. I appreciate process. But I was thrown a loop. And I was like, that should have been the sign that the next couple of months were about to be a mess. And I didn't take the sign. I was like, I'm home. It's wonderful. And then I got out of the airport and that was just a mess. I think a mess is a very generous way to describe it. But en français, on va dire c'était la bordel.
Ouais. On va quand même respecter le pays, hein?
Of course, but I always say I'm the biggest advocate for Congo, but I'm also its biggest critic, and I'm okay with that. And then the next couple of months that followed, I genuinely was shocked because in other African countries, many African countries, you're able to come in, find an internet cafe, find a restaurant with free Wi-Fi. You can sit down, you can work for as long as you're buying like the tea, the coffee, the sodas, the food. You can just sit and work and eat. There is nothing like that in Kinshasa. Like nothing. If you're looking for a job opportunity, my friend, come collect. There's nothing like that. And so for me, I was shocked because I'm coming in as an entrepreneur. I want to have resources to help me.
Exactly.
Like I told you, like my parents are not entrepreneurs. They're not business people. So this is not something they had anticipated either. So now I'm asking them like, oh, where can I go get free Wi-Fi? They're like, free Wi-Fi? That's not a thing here. So that was a shock to me. And then me trying to start up a business, I'm trying to understand what the process is. Where do I start? And they're like, no, just find a lawyer. I'm like, no, I want to be able to handle the process. Like, I'm an adult. I have 2 degrees. I can compute what is happening.
A whole master.
And they were like, no, Binja, it's nothing to do with that. There is no process once you get there, and we don't want you to kind of trip yourself up because today you go to the guichet, it's 200. Tomorrow you come, it's 400. So I'm like, wait, what? Is there no fixed price? And they're like, no, it depends on who you find. So now it was, je t'ai dit. So it was one thing after the other that was like a blocker. And honestly, I got frustrated and I did give up and I got on a flight and I left the country. I was here for like 2 months and I was like, ça c'est pas pour moi. So I left, I went to Zimbabwe, then I came back and I was like, okay, let's give this another go. I was here for a month and I was like, no, this is not working out. Because I'm also, like I said initially, I'm big in community. So I was trying to reach out to people and trying to find like, well, where do diaspora go? Where do people who are looking to make new connections coming in the city go? There wasn't a place to go. Or at least at the time I was there, because I also came in during COVID, there wasn't really like a réseau, like a network where you could like say, oh, I know this person, let me put you in contact. So now I'm just like going back and forth in and out of the country, probably for that first year.
Spending all your money, all your savings.
And I am my own sugar daddy. So I was like, we cannot afford this lifestyle.
And the fact that you kept coming back, I'm like, girl, good job. Hey, moi j'allais faire pardon, j'ai essayé 2 fois, ça finit, je retourne. Je rappelle mon boss. Okay, do you still have a job for me?
Literally, I'd be like, Craig, this isn't working out.
Yeah, I tried.
I know, but in all honesty, like, the reason I kept coming back was I didn't come back home just to come back home to say, oh, I'm Congolese, I'm back home. I came back home to make an impact, to test myself, to see if everything that I've learned from my years of consulting, my years of, running my own like influencer business on the side, if all of that information was actually something that I could impart here, that I could actually build a business here off of. And for me, failing was not an option because again, I have quit my whole job, I have packed my whole apartment.
Within a year, it's like, oh, I've told all these people that I'm coming back home.
Seriously, and I think that was the embarrassing
6 months,
thing.
I'm like, I'm going back.
It's like, actually, hey, hi, you know that meme? Hello, it's me. I would have been that person, seriously. But like, you know, if I was going to let the shame hold me back of like, okay, so Binja, because people were always asking me, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? And I'm just like, I'm at home. I'm in my mother's house on my sister's bed. Like, that is the answer every single time for months, Rachel, for months. And so I just finally decided, like, okay, you have to give Kinshasa a chance. So what did that mean? I have no trips booked. I'm usually somebody who has like 2 or 3 international trips a year. I have no trips booked because I have decided that this is all I got. And this is where I'm going to be. This is all I'm going to do. And so that's the decision I took. So it's been working so far, you know. Now that I've decided to stay, the initial shock of what Kinshasa is, what is available, what comes out of the box, what is something you have to get 15 people in your network for to get done. All of that shock has kind of slowly worn off, but I would hate to be somebody who sells Kinshasa to somebody as like a place you can just move into and ça va cartonner, you have all the... No, I don't want to lie to you. It was very hard.
It is brutal. It is brutal.
Yeah.
Et je pense que ce que ton parcours montre, c'est que you have to give yourself a chance.
Yeah.
Et moi, c'est toujours ça que je dis aux gens, parce que même moi aussi, j'étais choquée. Mais moi, je suis venue avec mon mari, mes enfants, all the same. Il n'y avait pas de, oh, si je suis pas confortable, je peux toujours partir.
Yeah, you did not have a choice.
J'ai pas eu le choix. Mais c'est correct d'être choqué.
Yeah. Yeah.
Il faut pas, like, I think sometimes we are embarrassed to be shocked because it's our own
country.
Home. It's
oh my
home.
God.
C'est ça. Comment est-ce que je peux venir dans mon pays et ne pas être à l'aise? It's okay de ne pas vous sentir à la maison. It's okay de ne pas être à l'aise. It's okay d'être inconfortable et de vouloir partir. It is okay. Il ne faut pas se mettre cette pression-là. Que dès que je débarque, il faut que j'adore ce pays. Il faut que je me sente comme si c'était l'Eldorado, etc. Il faut juste se donner le temps. Il faut se donner le temps. You have to take a step back. Et surtout de savoir qu'est-ce que je suis revenue faire au pays.
Yeah, and I think that's really important.
If you don't have a purpose, if you don't have a vision,
Kinshasa is not going to give that to you.
It's not. It's going to look at you like, tu as quitté là-bas, tu es revenu ici, maintenant tu nous regardes pour nous dire
qu'est-ce que je vais faire.
C'est ça. Non, tu viens, toi-même tu frayes ton chemin. Et c'est ça qui est un peu intéressant dans ce pays, c'est que tu peux toi-même frayer ton chemin.
Yeah.
But you have to give yourself the chance to do it. You know, don't put yourself too much stress.
And I think it's important that we share that, because I think for me, as somebody who is like very high achieving, I have goals, I'm like, ça va cartonner. Like, I came in and I was like, I'm going to start this business, then this business. And then I come in, I'm like, okay, you don't even have the resources for this. This business doesn't exist. You're trying to talk to other people about investing. They're looking at you like, I barely make $2 a day. So for me, it was like, oh, I have so many other factors that when you're not on the ground, no matter how much planning you do, there's so much that you meet on the ground that you cannot anticipate, right? Which is why I love the fact that we're trying to create community so that we're able to help people anticipate more and more and more, so they're not coming in and getting shocked as much as I did. For me, it's very important to even set the expectation that, like, yeah, I mean, what does it take away from you to be ashamed? You know, I think some people carry shame as such a burden. They're like, oh no, I can't share that it's hard right now. I can't share that I don't even know what I'm doing. I can't share that. And in all honesty, if you let shame win, then you completely get taken over by regret. You get slowed down. You don't do anything. You don't make any progress.
Yeah.
So for me, I was super ashamed. I'm like, I came from like living my best life in Boston, like Pinterest apartment, amazing. I had my car. When I tell you I was set for life, people were like, why are you leaving? And then to come all this way, and then people are like, so what are you doing? What are you doing? It must be amazing. Like, the level of expectation I'm already set was high. And then I come and I'm just like,
so well for yourself, and then you come back and you start.
Exactly.
But the thing is, you have a vision, you have a purpose.
Exactly. And I had to execute it. And that's the thing where it's like, to be able to get all the resourcing that you need, it's going to take time. I cannot overstate it. Like, give yourself the time that you need to be successful, because otherwise, if you want to rush into it, you'll make mistakes.
Yeah.
And if you make mistakes with the wrong people around you, they'll be costly mistakes.
Yes.
And you can only make so many of those, unless your father's Bill Gates, of course, but like mine is not.
Yeah.
And for me, it was very much like fail and pivot, fail and pivot, fail and pivot, which is why I'm encouraging everybody, like, give yourself time, but keep trying. Il faut que tu te lances, because at the end of the day, if you don't do that, then you're going to be messing yourself up.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you don't do that, you're going to end up slowing yourself down. You're going to slow your progress down, even if you have a vision. And that's the thing. I always tell a lot of my clients, I'm like, everybody has a vision. Everybody has a dream. Or at least most people do, I should say. Let me not generalize. Most people do. So I think at the end of the day, I would say that you have to actually go out and try, because you can only know what doesn't work by doing. There's really no other way. I mean, people can tell you, ça va pas marcher pour toi, non, j'ai essayé, but like, your experience is not my experience. For you, it could have failed. For me, it could have failed, and then it succeeds, and then you succeed. So then now I'm like, oh, ça pas cartonné pour moi, mais regardez, j'ai fait la même chose. That happens every single day. You know, how many people had the idea of a Facebook, right? But didn't actually start coding, you know, or had an idea of Twitter and actually didn't start doing the work. So yeah, I'm a firm believer, execution needs strategy for lunch. You can strategize as much as you can, but if you don't actually get to going, it's nice. It's a nice idea.
and give yourself the chance. Ne vous mettez pas trop de pression à vous dire, ouais, mais j'ai laissé ça, so I have to prove.
Yeah.
Parce que quand on revient, hein, t'as la famille qui te dit, mais t'es fou, quoi. Qu'est-ce que tu fais? Et puis là, tu ressens cette pression de, OK, il faut que je les prouve, que j'ai pris la bonne décision. Et puis finalement, tu fais, you make a lot of mistakes along the way because you're like trying to prove people wrong. Il faut vous donner le temps. Oui, vous pouvez être choqué. Vous avez le droit d'être choqué, c'est normal d'être choqué. Oui, vous pouvez détester le pays aussi, c'est normal. C'est totalement normal, mais vous devez vous donner cette chance-là de vraiment ease into it.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that was a problem initially for me was like people pleasing. You want to make everybody think that, wow, that like your life is this type of a life, like it's wonderful, you have a job, you have a driver. And especially when you come to Kinshasa and you realize like most women have a chauffeur, like there's a driver who's ready to go. Madame, are you ready to go to the mall? Are you ready to get? And there's a driver jumping in. Hey, I will open the door for you. And me, I come here, my dad is looking at me like, I'm pretty sure you have a driver's license, sis. And we have no driver.
Have 2 hands.
And you got 2 hands, a fully functioning body. You're the driver.
You're the driver.
So for me, it was like, you know, trying to live up to like this lifestyle that people show of Kinshasa, and also knowing people who have such high expectations for me. I had to shed all of that. I'm like, you have to work at your own pace. Exactly. You have to focus on yourself, work at your own pace, because if everything you're doing is because il y a d'autres gens qui sont en train de te regarder, like, you're going to fail, because you're going to be doing things for other people, and that's never going to be successful because you're building other people's dreams and not your own. So how would you say that?
Focus on yourself, man. All right.
Always.
Alors là, je voudrais que tu puisses me parler, parce que tu as dit, voilà, entrepreneur, tu es revenu, tu avais des compétences, des connaissances que tu voulais appliquer ici. So talk to me about the project that you're working on right now.
Which one, girl? Which one? Yeah, we are multi out here.
The 2 main, girl.
They're enough for me to be very busy. So I want to talk about, so the first project, I actually like officially launched it this week. So I opened a creator agency. So what we do is we work with content creators.
And it's called Qui vous brand. Vous allez avoir tous les liens, okay, dans la barre de description, okay?
Exact. And then I opened a creator agency. I work with content creators. So what we do is we help connect brands to content creators so that they can amplify their presence in Congo, for example. So our tagline is influencing Africa, which is what I want to do. I want to also show a different side of Congo, where I think other people have always told the story of Congo. Very few Congolese actually share the story of who we are. And for me, it was important to work with content creators because they're on the ground. They're the ones who are telling you whether or not this particular product is going to go well on the market, is going to do well, is going to sell well, people are going to enjoy it. They're the ones who are the mouthpiece of the people. And so for me, it was important to work with people who are sharing Congolese stories à l'externe. And at the end of the day, I was like, okay, so you start this business. and again, my goal is impact. One of our company values is impact, authenticity, and creativity. And so for me, my goal is in everything that I do with my content creators, with the clients that I work with, is to push those values through. So if you come in as an external client, you're not going to start like telling me I'm going to copy paste what I saw working in Ivory Coast is now going to work in Kinshasa. No, Kinshasa is a very different place. Congo is a very different place. So I like to make things culturally relevant, which is why I heavily rely on the content creators that I work with. And when I got here, I had worked as an influencer in the States for a couple of years. And I got here and I was like, oh, I can do the same thing. There wasn't a structure for that here. Even in terms of like talking about it as an influencer, I don't even use that word here. That's why I use content creator.
As soon as you say influencer, people are like,
exactly.
No, on veut pas d'influenceur ici.
Yeah, and the thing is that a lot of times people at least in Kinshasa, other places it's different, right? People proudly call themselves influencers. But in Kinshasa, the moment you say you're an influencer, they automatically think, oh, you're just a pretty girl who holds like a bottle of champagne. Really they're like, where is the job? Like, there's no job there. Anyone can take a photo. I can do this. And so then it's like, I'm not doing any of this for free 99. Like, I got 2 degrees and I left America for this. So we're going to be paying for this somehow. And the content creators as well, like part of what I want to do is impact their lives. So I teach them all how to be business people. We negotiate contracts together. We talk about timelines. We talk about visibility. All of that stuff that I've learned in consulting over the years, I'm bringing it and I'm applying it here, and I'm touching all of these lives. So for me, it's very important that in this venture that I just launched, to be able to have that level of impact where we're telling our stories, our content creators are developing as business people. Congo's perception, especially to the outside world, is slowly going to change because of the influence that the content creators that I'm working with have. So yeah, that's my first venture, Kivu Brand Architects, or KBA, or Kivu Brand. We're Kivu Brand, I want to say, everywhere, on all socials across the board. And then the other venture that I am working on is with my dear friend Rachel. We're actually creating community here in Kinshasa. With diaspora. I think over on my channel, I do talk a little bit more about it in depth. But at the end of the day, my goal has always been community, like I talked about when we started this interview. And for me, not having found community, I am that type of person where I'm like, either you stay and wallow and get upset that things are not changing, or you get up and change them. So for me, I know when we connected, that was one of the first things we talked about, was the fact that we didn't really have a community here. And I think I said to you, I was like, you know what, let's create this community. And even if it's just the 2 of us, it'll be fine. We have community with 2 people. So for us, it wasn't about number. It was really about just making that connection. And I think with diaspora, we're really growing. I think we're at about 70, 80 people in like our WhatsApp group, and we have people over on our Instagram, and we're doing hangouts. So for me, it's the next person, the next Binja that decides that they want to leave Boston, New York, DC, Miami, and now move to Kinshasa. They shouldn't have to struggle as much as I did. Like for me, the idea that like people always say, no, I struggled, so you have to struggle too.
I'm not going to share my
I'm not sharing my contacts. I'm not sharing. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing, because you know what, I'll take that back. It's a short-sighted view. It's a very short-sighted view. I got 2 degrees. I can use more than dumb. It's a short-sighted view. And the thing is that like, if you forget that, if me helping you in your journey allows you to go and be great, if you forget about me, I'm okay with that, because I didn't help you because I was waiting for recognition, right? I'm helping you because I know what it's like to suffer. I know what it's like to have those long and hard days. I know what it's like to not have resources. And so it was super important for me to create that community with you, so that we would be able to help people coming back to Congo actually feel at home. Because the worst thing to do, at least for me, that I felt, was that I came home and I didn't feel at home. And for me, you asked like, where is home for you? Like, home is where my parents are, and this is where they are, and I didn't feel at home for a very long time. It's literally just this year that I've started feeling like, okay, I know where the ShopRite is. I know where the spa is. I know where Rachel's house is. Like, it just being able to find your way around has taken over a year for me. And for me, it's important that the next person coming doesn't have to struggle. It shouldn't take the next Binja a year and a half to get acclimated. It should take them a year, or it should take them 6 months, or it should take them 4 months, because you and I are putting in the work so that coming home is an enjoyable experience for people.
Yeah.
And they don't have to like, I'm mentally preparing for Kinshasa. Okay, I'm now ready to get on the plane. And that's what a lot of people do. Kinshasa is a very stressful experience for people, but I think in our initiative, I think we'll be able to ease the process for people. Yeah.
Good. I know you explained it in English. En français, on va vous mettre tous les liens des éléments qu'elle a parlé, qu'elle vient de parler. Alors Binja et moi, nous sommes deux collaboratrices qui avons lancé le projet Diaspat, qui est une communauté d'entraide, une communauté sociale, une communauté qui aide la diaspora, ou bien les expats aussi, à revenir en RDC et plus spécifiquement à Kinshasa. Donc on aide, on facilite l'intégration en fait. Donc vous aurez tous les éléments, toutes les informations dans la barre de description, et vous allez aussi avoir les liens de tous nos réseaux sociaux. Alors c'est une communauté qui est ouverte. N'hésitez surtout pas à nous rejoindre dans cette communauté. Alors voilà, this is the end. This is the end of our conversation.
I made it.
Listen, like, you know, when we are together, we can talk for like hours.
For hours.
Okay?
And I think that's why it works.
Heures et
I think
des
that's
heures.
why it works.
Mais on a parlé de l'essentiel.
Oui.
Et j'espère vraiment que cette entrevue vous a ouvert les yeux sur une autre expérience qu'on peut avoir lorsqu'on arrive à Kinshasa. Oui. C'est un pays qui est difficile, et moi je le dis toujours, le Congo est un pays difficile, mais c'est pas impossible.
That's, I think, a really good way to put it, because I think when you come in and you have all of these stumbling blocks, all of these barriers to your success, I think people give up, and they give up very easily.
Ouais.
And then you go home and your home in Europe still sucks, but you're like, at least I can get the things I need done.
Exact.
But it's not impossible. I mean, I'm here.
Exactement. Donc, si elle a eu des chocs, elle a été quand même en mesure de pouvoir rester, and she's thriving. Hey, Binja is doing things, okay? Alors c'est possible pour tout le monde. Et comme on a dit avec notre communauté Diaspat, on essaye vraiment d'encourager, plus faciliter ce retour et puis cette intégration en Kinshasa. Alors si vous avez des questions par rapport à la communauté Diaspat, vous allez avoir toutes les informations, et puis ça nous ferait vraiment plaisir de pouvoir vous répondre à ça. Et aussi, bien sûr, si vous avez aimé cette vidéo, obviously, vous savez quoi faire. Hein? Je ne vais pas vous répéter tout le temps. Vous likez, vous commentez, vous partagez, et bien sûr, vous nous laissez aussi des commentaires et vous nous dites qu'est-ce que vous avez pensé de cette entrevue. Merci encore.
Thank you, Asha. Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this. Franchement, I was nervous, but you make it look easy. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much for bringing me on.
It's my pleasure. Et moi, je vous dis à la prochaine. Ciao.
Bye, guys.